Hi, everyone, and welcome to Coffee with a Career Coach. We are very excited to have you on this wonderful Wednesday, and happy St. Patrick's Day, which I just remembered about an hour ago. So I have my green on. I hope you all have your green on as well. Today, I have a familiar face from a couple weeks ago. I have Abby with me, who is our graduate assistant, and I will let her introduce herself in just a couple minutes here. But my name is Erica O'Toole. I'm an assistant director in our office, and I work with our College of Education and Human Services, as well as our global campus students. I supervise our First Impressions program and our outreach programs. And I am the typical host of our Coffee with a Career Coach and Coffee with Careers. So I'm super excited to have Abby with me on today. We are going to talk about interviewing, networking, and just some updates in industry standards. And that is based off of some survey results we got from you, and we are hearing what you want to have us discuss. So today we have some questions based around that. As always, today I have my coffee, so I'll share that with you, what I have in it. I'm not going to share it with you because I love my coffee way too much. But I have my Biggby today because I dropped my son off at daycare, and Biggby's on my way home. So I get an iced coffee with caramel marble and white lightning from Biggby. But I do have a mug from my collection, since I always bring a mug on, and it is from my Rae Dunn mug collection. As you guys know, I have a collection. I love Rae Dunn for home stuff, and I have a collection of hers. And this one says Candy Hearts. Valentine's Day is one of my favorite holidays, and this one is one of her Valentine's Day mugs. So as usual, please ask us questions as we go today. That's what this is for, is really for you to get information. We have some questions prepared, but we would love to answer whatever you have for us today. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Abby for her to introduce herself.
Okay, thank you, Erica, and thank you again for having me on this. I'm very excited to be back. Hello, everyone. My name is Abby Faribault. I'm a first-year graduate assistant here at Central Michigan University, and I'm working at the Career Development Center as well. I'm currently creating a new Fit for Hire program, so a low-key plug there. That's what I'm currently working on for the College of Arts and Media students to learn and grow in their own career and professional development. And my mug today is a Girl Power one in honor of International Women's History Month. I think that's the right holiday. And I have apple juice because I still do not drink coffee.
Awesome. I love that you bring a different juice every week. That's great.
Thank you. Gotta spice it up when I can.
All right. So like I said, we have some questions prepared, but please feel free to ask questions as we go. So I'm going to start us off by asking a question to Abby, first of all. So Abby, in your opinion, what is the best way to network with some potential employers?
So I would first say that LinkedIn is a great tool for this, especially with networking with people you've either previously worked with, want to work with in the future, or just connect with and have a conversation about your skills and how you think you could be a benefit to the company. And also just learning about general opportunities that are available. And I would also recommend emailing to see if you could shadow a day in the office of someone if you're interested in that opportunity for the future. Granted, if it's virtual, you could also do a virtual meeting for an informational interview to learn more about the position, what they do. And I would also recommend just seeing when you can have a conversation with someone that you're interested in working with down the line. For example, when I was looking into nonprofit event planning way back when, I had an opportunity to shadow someone for a day, and this was pre-COVID, in the nonprofit event planning field for half a day, and I got to observe their event planning, the organization, the structure of what a nonprofit looked like, and I got a first-hand experience of what this job entailed. And although it was not a fit for me in the long run, as I am here currently, it was very helpful as an experience to know better. It was better to know now than later. So I would recommend when you have those chances to network with people and just get your feet wet with an experience, just to even learn more about the opportunity or position, take it when you can.
Awesome. And I think that's huge. I think, taking that opportunity whenever you can. I love that you said that, Abby, because I think a lot of times some of us are hesitant to take an opportunity because maybe we think it doesn't particularly fit us, or maybe we're just kind of nervous to reach out to somebody, but you never know where that's going to lead you. And so it's really important that we take any opportunity that we can, because it could lead to something big.
For sure. And Erica, how would you recommend students market themselves?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that students can do now to market themselves for the future. And that is really from freshman year all the way until senior year and beyond. So, there's the obvious ways with your application materials, your resume, your cover letter, making sure that you're marketing yourself the best way possible for your industry. So making sure that you have a good professional brand with those application materials, making sure your headings are consistent with those keywords and industry standards, but then having things like a professional website, that's huge. And having things like business cards prepared for when you go to those different career fairs. The other things, making sure that you market yourself on LinkedIn properly. So setting up an appointment, maybe with one of us assistant directors, to go over, how can we make sure you're marketing yourself to the fullest potential on different social media sites like LinkedIn, and even your other social media, making sure you're keeping it professional and you're using it to market yourself in a really professional way. The other thing is marketing yourself in person and virtually. So we'll talk a little bit about how things have changed now with, with COVID and just the climate of everything right now, but marketing yourself at different events. So attending career fairs, even your freshman and sophomore year, and just going up and introducing yourself. That way, when you get to that junior and senior year and you need an internship or a job, those employers already know who you are. So, they've already been introduced to you. They obviously know that you are working hard to get these positions and to get your name out there. And so by the time you get to that point, they know that you've been working hard as a student and you've been marketing yourself.
And I would add to that too, using the connections you have in student organizations or in classes when you have a guest speaker. For example, in my program, whenever someone comes and guest speaks to us on a professional development day, I usually try to connect with them on LinkedIn afterwards and make a note of, hi, you presented to my program, and I really thought what you said at this point of the discussion was really interesting, and I'd love to connect for future opportunities, or just to have you as a connection down the line. And usually they're very open to connections. No one wants to decline someone who could potentially offer them an opportunity down the line. So using that as well to your advantage when classes or student organizations have those events.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you mentioned that, Abby, because not only that, but even just thanking them for coming and speaking to your organization. Even when you have a presenter in one of your classes, sending them a quick thank you, whether it be over LinkedIn, whether you actually send them a thank you, that makes a huge impact, and then when you need to build those relationships later, you've already kind of set yourself up for success. So I'm glad that you mentioned starting that networking process, even in the smallest ways.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So, Abby, you mentioned to me yesterday, and this was one of the things that was submitted by some students too, was this idea of group interviews, panel interviews. And I know that you've had some experience. And so I wanted you to go ahead and share that experience that you've had personally.
For sure. So some companies in advance tell you whether or not you're having a group interview, but most of the time, or more often times than not, they don't. But it's important to be professional and kind of act like you knew that was a potential happen, something that was going to potentially happen, so you're not caught off guard. For example, when I first interviewed for my second job ever as a career peer at Kent State University, go Flashes, I was thrown into, this is my second interview I've ever done, there were 7 people interviewing me. And that's another thing. Sometimes you may be in a group interview and it's one person interviewing you and 5 other candidates, or it could be 7 people interviewing you as one candidate. And so luckily I have not been in the situation where I have had to interview with multiple candidates as well, just with employers. But I would stress the importance of shaking each individual person's hand and saying your name. It gets repetitive, but it also sounds professional, and it sends the note to them that you are trying to make an impression, a positive one at that. And especially repeating their name back to them if you don't know how to say it, saying it until you get it right. So I would stress that importance, and and then usually they would go through one question at a time. So for me in the career peer, they had like a question sheet, and each person asked one out of, I think, 12 questions, give or take, and making sure that you have direct eye contact with the person that asked the question when you go to answer, but in addition, addressing the other people in the room so they feel acknowledged as well is a really important step too.
Awesome. And I think also making sure that you get the contact information of those people so that you're not just sending like one thank you note, but you're sending it to all of those people individually. That makes a really big impact as well. And on the opposite end, Abby, I've been in an interview where I've been in a group being interviewed.
Oh, really?
And so I thought I'd share my experience, which was a little bit different. And this was for a part-time job back when I was in college. So, it was definitely a learning experience. But when we get in those type of situations, it's definitely about marketing ourselves. And making sure that, we're selling ourselves in the best way possible. But the other part of that too is not necessarily being the one that constantly talks over the others. So we learn about this in etiquette dinners too, but we want to include others in conversation. And so, yes, we want to stand out. Yes, we want to answer the questions and we want to market ourselves the best way possible. But we also want to include where we can too, because we want to show that we're a team player. So anywhere that we can answer a question and maybe ask for input from somebody else, that shows that we're including others and that we're able to really work in a team too. So I would say that's another part of a group interview. And that's something that you can always ask for our help with. But the other part of that, in the interview situation that you were in, Abby, is to make sure that you always have, your resume, your cover letter, and you have it printed out in multiples. So have like plenty of copies. That way people aren't having to share a copy of your resume, and you're able to have copies for everyone at the table. So, like Abby said, you might not necessarily be told how many people will be in that interview. So you want to make sure you have plenty of copies going in and that you're prepared for that.
And I would also stress something I have at the interview as well is prepared questions in advance. Because usually at the end, it's a popular question where they say, do you have any questions for us? And this is your time to show that you have researched the position, the company. You do have some questions about maybe something you need some clarification on. And it's not something just like, oh, what does this position do? If you have a direct question about, I saw in the job description that self-care days are encouraged. What does that mean? Or, when does this job description bullet point entail? What would I need? Will I need to work with other people? Making sure that you can demonstrate that you've already taken the time to show your interest in your own personal time really helps you stand out as well as so do thank you notes, like you said, Erica. Those are really important to send after an interview. And like you said, when you have all of the names of the people who interviewed you, the more people you can reach out to and express your gratitude for their time, for the opportunity to be interviewed, the better your chances are that that'll leave an impression, a positive one at that, in their minds of, oh, this person really does like this position and wanted to reach out to me, and I was only one of 7 interviewers.
Absolutely. You'd be amazed at how much that makes you stand out as a candidate.
Yeah. And Erica, how do you know when a job is right for you?
Absolutely. So, and this one's kind of a hard question, but this was another one that got submitted to us. So, what I would say here is a lot of times we get so nervous for interviews that we kind of forget that we're also interviewing them, right? So we want to make sure that that job is the right job for us too. So a couple things to think about, making sure that their values, their mission statement, all of that lines up with us as well. So we want to make sure that we're working at a company where, all of those things line up for us. Is this the type of environment I want to work at? You know, maybe you know about yourself that you like to work in a team. Are you going to be working in a team, or are you going to be working primarily by yourself? You know, have you looked over all of maybe their health benefits? Have you looked over a lot of their company policies? There's a lot of things that go into it, besides just them offering you the job and you accepting it because you need a position and you're excited. You really want to make sure that the position's right for you. I get the question a lot, and I'm just going to use this as an example, but I've had a student ask me before, you know, I'm in a fraternity or sorority. Should I put that on my resume or should I not put that on my resume? I've had people ask about other organizations as well, and they don't know if they should put it on their resume. And I always say, you know, do you want to work for an organization that's going to not hire you based on something that you're involved in, that you're proud of? And so I think that that's huge. You know, is the job right for you? You have to really make sure of that, because you want to make sure that you're at a company that you really enjoy and that you're proud to work at as well. And so I think we always have to look at it as kind of a two-sided interview. Yes, they're interviewing you. You really need a position, but at the same time, is this the right fit for you? And I'm a huge advocate of really that you'll know when you get in the right position. It took me a little bit of a career path to realize when I was in the right position, and I absolutely love what I do now. And I know that I'm where I want to be. And so it took me a while to get to where I am, but I know that I'm where I need to be. And so I always tell students, you'll know. And it's just a matter of kind of finding that right fit.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add to that, Abby?
I do actually. I was going to say that something I did when I was coming into this position, and granted this is different than a full-time job, but as a grad assistant, someone had to graduate in order for me to get this position. So I actually connected with the student who previously held this job once I accepted the assistantship. So I messaged them saying, you know, congratulations on graduation. Do you have any notes or something you would like to pass on to me that maybe you didn't know about the position when you started, but you think I should know before I begin? And she was a very nice person. She basically said that everyone's really relaxed and friendly, and you all are. So she was like, what's the term? I forgot the term. She was dead on with that. But she didn't have anything bad to say about the position other than just making sure you manage your work life from your student life, because as a grad student, you're working in an office 20 hours a week and then also being a student. But I found that to be extremely helpful as well, just because you can learn about the office environment a little bit better from someone who literally just left it. And I don't know how often that opportunity can happen with a real-time or full-time job, but I imagine that finding those people who may have previously worked and then either retired or just went on to something in another company would probably be open to connecting and just talking with you about, oh, this is what I experienced.
Absolutely. And I think even looking up on like LinkedIn and like Glassdoor, you can find employee reviews on companies as well. And even just seeing how employers handle different situations, like what we're in now, this environment that we're going through, this whole thing with COVID, seeing how employers are handling this, how they're treating their employees. All of that really can help you decide whether it's the type of company that you want to work for. So I think that all kind of helps us determine fit.
Yeah, and when you're in an interview, especially for a group interview or just in general, especially when it's back in person, this would be more helpful for when it's in person. But you can see how staff interact with one another when you're walking on your way to the interview room, or if it's a group interview, how they interact with each other when they're going down the line of questions and telling someone, okay, you ask the next one. Is it respectful or is it snide? And having that sort of experience before you even get the job to see firsthand how they interact with one another. And you're kind of like a fly on the wall in that situation, but it helps you to gain a better understanding of what exactly you're interviewing for, not just job-wise, but who you're working with wise.
Absolutely. Definitely. All right, Abby. So I want to hear a little bit about your experiences and what you think employers are looking for after you've been in this position for a little bit.
For sure. So I would say first and foremost that employers are looking for someone who matches their qualifications, has the years of experience that they're looking for, and genuinely knowledgeable and passionate about the job. So it is important to share your relevant experience both in work and as a student or in student organizations. And so, for example, you may not have 3 years of experience working, but you've been involved in a student organization since your freshman year, and now you're a junior or senior, and you leveled up, and now you went from a general member to an e-board. You can still talk about that in a resume because you still gain leadership, organization, and communication skills, but just in a different aspect, working peer to peer. Sorry, I'm like reading my notes. But I've been fortunate to be interviewed and then be part of the interview committee a few times. So for being interviewed, I highly recommend doing mock interviews in advance. I recently had an internship interview, and I was fortunate to have 2 different mentors interview me about 4 times in advance so I could get that practice out of the way and just become comfortable talking about myself in a professional manner. And I would also write your answers down to typical interview questions on a document, and not to say memorize them, but just familiarize yourself with the language regarding professional and career development. And in addition, having a sort of almost like CV type of resume that has all of your experiences listed. And then when you're either applying for a job or during the interview and you want to talk about certain experiences, choosing which ones specifically match the question or match the job position you're applying for. And because you don't want to list, for example, I work at my church seasonally during like winter breaks and things, but I also have this grad assistantship, and I'm a student advisor for the undergraduate student organization More Than a Body. And so when I'm going into higher ed positions, I talk about those 2 experiences because they're more relevant to my interactions with students, my professionalism, and what I eventually want to work towards. Whereas my receptionist job got me where I am now, but it won't be really helpful in the future. It's just something as a backup. And then I would again like to plug my Fit for Hire program, which starts in 2 weeks on Tuesday, March 30th from 1 to 2 for students of the College of Arts and Media. And we'll be discussing LinkedIn. So going off of this conversation, over the course of 4 workshops, students will have the opportunity to become more prepared with their career regarding resume tips, how to search for jobs or internships, how to utilize LinkedIn, interviews, do's and don'ts, and more. So if you're interested, please let us know and reach out at careers@cmh.edu, and we'd be happy to sign you up for that. But that is how I would answer that question. Erica, what would you say about experiences or what employers are looking for?
I agree. I mean, being really prepared, I think that's huge. Definitely doing your research. I can't stress how important it is to do your research before any type of in-person or virtual interaction with an employer. And I think that you touched on that pretty well, Abby. And then being involved, like you said, too. The more that you can get involved, whether, it's in volunteer work, if you can get involved something specifically to your industry, that's even better. That's amazing. But anything that you can get involved with where an employer can say, wow, they're, really making sure that they're adding to themselves and they're showing that they're a well-rounded student, that's what they're really looking for overall on their resume.
For sure. And the last question we have prepared in advance before if anyone asks us questions was, what are some updates in the industry or interview standards based on the current events?
Yeah, and I think the biggest one, and this is going to be pretty obvious, but with COVID and the pandemic, we've had to make a major shift to everything virtual. And so virtual interviews have become a huge thing. Virtual career fairs have become a huge thing. Virtual networking events, right? And so, yes, there was a little bit of virtual before, but now everything has moved completely that way. And hopefully soon we will be out of that and back to somewhat normal, but making sure that you prepare yourself very well for those virtual events of any kind. And that's what we're here for. We're here to help you with those things. But, for virtual interviews, making sure that you're setting yourself up for success, treating it like you would an in-person interview, still dressing professionally completely. We've heard of employers asking you to stand up in your interview. So making sure that you're fully dressed professionally, not wearing sweatpants to an interview because you think you can get away with it. You feel more professional professional when you're dressed completely professionally, setting yourself up with a really clean background, making sure you test your audio, your video, knowing what type of platform you're working with, getting yourself ready for a virtual fair, making sure you know how to use the software, and if you don't, asking for help in advance. We have the virtual teacher fair today, so if you're attending that, making sure that you know how to use the platform, you've signed up for sessions ahead of time. We have a virtual presentation tomorrow from Disney talking about networking, so I wanted to plug that a little bit here. On Handshake, you can sign up for that. Very easy to use. The link will be sent out today and posted on Handshake today, but just making sure that you're taking advantage of all these virtual things, because what a cool way to be able to take advantage of something. You don't have to go anywhere. So, you can literally participate in anything across the world right now because it's all virtual. Like, I've been seeing all these cool, like, African safaris, being able to tour the Palace of Versailles virtually, right? These things that we never were exposed to before because, we obviously might not have been able to do them in person. Now we're able to do them virtually. And it's the same thing with virtual career fairs, virtual interviews. We have so much more exposure to these things because they're virtual. So take advantage of them, but also be prepared for them.
I was going to add to that too. There's a lot of free conferences happening right now, and I know some colleges are offering free courses for students, I think too, or that might have been just at the beginning of the pandemic, but utilizing those opportunities as well. Like, I've joined a few 1-hour conference setting like meetings, and I usually find the people who are commenting on LinkedIn and I connect with them saying, hey, we're currently in this like conference meeting together and I just would love to connect and further the conversation down the line. And again, no one really hesitates on accepting a connection when it's based off of a similar experience or just a general interest in what they're doing. So I've gained a lot of networks that way. And also wanted to plug in First Impressions for you, Erica, in the sense that you weren't talking about professional clothes. We have free clothing at the First Impressions office, and you can make sure you're dressed to impress, literally, for these new opportunities and interviews. And making sure when you have these interviews or just conversations in general with potential employers, making sure you don't say like or I already I messed up. But just making sure that you are confident in your answers. That's where the practicing of the mock interviews comes in, because they can sense when you've practiced versus when you haven't. When I was practicing for my own interview, one of my mentors told me, this is a complete 180 from how you interviewed the other day. And that was because I practiced overnight and I written down my answers and I memorized them for different questions. And so that sort of practice really does help you, and it should not go not noticed or not recognized, because it really gears you for your career, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Erica, do you have any final thoughts?
I don't, except please come and see us if you have any questions. We still have some really great events planned for the rest of the semester. We will have a couple more of the Coffee and Careers, so please check those out. And we have Coffee with a Career Coach every other week. So please check those out. We'll have some more topics. We'll definitely feature some more of the questions that you have voiced that you want to hear from us. And we really appreciate you joining us on this wonderful St. Patrick's Day. We hope that you all have a wonderful Wednesday. Feel free to submit questions afterwards as well. We'll be checking the chat here. And then we'll have the recording posted on Facebook and Instagram TV. So feel free to watch afterwards too. And other than that, we hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful rest of your week. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.